Mirror of shadows, reflections of darkness. James Anderson strolled through the crowded flea market, his eyes scanning the various stalls with mild interest. He wasn't looking for anything in particular, just something to occupy his Saturday afternoon. As he turned a corner, a glint of sunlight caught his eye, drawing him towards a stall cluttered with antique furniture and knickknacks. An old ornate mirror leaned against the back wall, its frame intricately carved with twisting vines and strange, almost unrecognizable symbols. The glass was slightly cloudy, adding to its mystique. James felt an inexplicable pull towards it, a sense of curiosity mixed with a touch of unease. "How much for the mirror?" he asked the elderly vendor, a woman with deep-set eyes and a knowing smile. "That old thing, $50 and it's yours," she replied, her gaze lingering on him for a moment longer than felt comfortable. Without hesitation, James handed her the money and carefully loaded the mirror into his car. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something special about it, something he needed to discover. Back at his apartment, James placed the mirror in his living room, facing the couch. As he settled in for the evening, he glanced at his reflection and froze. The mirror's surface shimmered, and instead of his own familiar reflection, he saw a different version of himself, slightly older, with a hardened expression and a scar running down his left cheek. James blinked, and the image vanished, replaced by his own wide-eyed face. He shook his head, chalking it up to a trick of the light or an overactive imagination. But as the days passed, the visions in the mirror grew more frequent and detailed. He saw alternate realities, different choices leading to drastically different lives. In one, he was a successful businessman, in another, a homeless drifter. Some scenes were mundane, others filled with violence and despair. The most disturbing vision, however, was the one that began to recur with alarming frequency. It showed a dark version of himself, a doppelganger with cold, calculating eyes. This alternate James seemed aware of him, staring back through the mirror with a sinister grin. Obsessed, James spent hours in front of the mirror, trying to understand its power. He neglected his work, his friends, and even his own well-being. The lines between reality and the alternate worlds began to blur, and he found himself questioning what was real. One night, as he gazed into the mirror, the doppelganger stepped closer, pressing a hand against the glass. James felt a strange pull, as if the mirror was a portal between worlds. Unable to resist, he reached out and touched the glass. The room around him darkened, and he felt a cold, suffocating sensation. When the darkness lifted, James found himself in a twisted version of his apartment. Everything was the same, yet different. Darker, more sinister. His doppelganger stood before him, no longer separated by the glass. "Welcome to my world," he sneered. "I've been waiting for you." James tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. The doppelganger lunged, and they grappled, the fight chaotic and desperate. James managed to break free and ran towards the mirror, hoping to return to his own reality. But the doppelganger was faster. He watched in horror as his dark double walked through the mirror. James ran up to the mirror, hoping to make it through, but the mirror was different now, its surface opaque and unyielding. The doppelganger's laughter echoed through the room as James pounded on the glass, trapped in this nightmarish alternate reality. Back in James's apartment, the doppelganger settled into James's life with ease. To the outside world, nothing seemed amiss, but those who looked closely might notice a darkness in his eyes, a hint of something not quite right. The mirror had disappeared a week later, returning to its elderly caretaker. One brisk autumn morning, as the vendor arranged her wares, a young woman named Sylvia wandered into the flea market. She was an artist, always on the lookout for unique and inspiring objects. The mirror caught her eye instantly, drawing her in with the same irresistible pull that had ensnared James. Sylvia approached the vendor, her fingers tracing the intricate carvings on the frame. "How much for this mirror?" she asked, a touch of awe in her voice. The vendor's deep-set eyes met Sylvia's, and for a moment, she hesitated. But then, with a resigned sigh, she said, $50, and it's yours." Sylvia handed over the money, her excitement palpable. As she loaded the mirror into her car, the vendor watched with a mixture of pity and resignation. She knew the cycle was about to begin anew. Like and subscribe for more creepy tales.